everybody, I'm Annika from Event Partners Ireland, and today I would like to share with all of you a lovely delicious recipe for sweet scones. Now they're not anybody's scones, they're Catherine Fulvio scones from Ballyknocken Farm, and these scones are really easy to make and they would impress anybody, but they'd also be a really nice treat for yourself. So before I start making these scones, I want to just share a lovely memory with you. Because for a lot of our groups, going to Ballyknocken Farm, experiencing the Irish hospitality, the beautiful Irish countryside in County Wicklow, and the beautiful food have been the highlight of many of our groups. So before I start making these, I'm just going to get my assistant, Oscar, to get me an egg from outside from our lovely hens. So fingers crossed that they have laid an egg today. Oscar, would you mind just going to fetch me an egg?
Sure, no problem, Mum.
Thank you. And then we can start making these, and I hope you find them just as easy as I do. They would take about 30 minutes from start to finish, and please enjoy them. So we'll just see.
Oh look, Mum, Bet's laid an egg.
Oh, super! Thank you so much. That's great. So we'll use that later on. Okay, so first of all, I've put the oven on to 210 degrees Celsius. That is because I have a fan oven. If you have a normal oven, 230 degrees. So it's important the oven is really, really hot before you start all of this. And of course, I washed my hands and I put my apron on. So I've measured 450 grams of plain flour into a rather large bowl. And what I want to do is put all dry ingredients into the flour. So I'm taking a pinch of salt, putting this in here, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, I'll add those in too, and 25 grams of caster sugar, I'll add that in here as well. And that was my dry ingredients in here now. And then I'll just stir it around just slightly with my right hand. And then what I want to do is take my chilled butter. Again, it's really important the butter is really chilled, so it's cold out of the fridge. And what I want to achieve is to make a breadcrumb-like mixture with the butter and the flour mixture. So what I find easiest is if I just grate in the butter this way, like so. Makes it a whole lot easier, but you can also cut it into small cubes. Or if you've big strong hands, you might find it easy, but I find it an easier method. So this is what I do. It's a bit of a trick, like so. Okay, and then what I like to do is I want to make the butter and the flour into crumbs, basically. So I am just rubbing the butter and the flour together, like so. And this is probably what takes the longest out of the whole process. So I'm just rubbing it together. And while I'm doing this, I want to get as much air into this mixture as possible. Okay, so Catherine always makes our groups laugh by saying that we're making scones, not stones, which everybody finds really funny. So we want to get air into this to make them really light and fluffy. And that is one of the most important things. So I'm going to just spend a small bit of time at this, just so that it tastes really, really good. Okay. And then once I've done this, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Wow. So it should have like this golden crumb-like structure. Like so. Do you see this? Okay, nice and crummy. Okay, perfect. So next thing is I want to add my cold milk to this. So it's 200 milliliters of milk, but the most important thing is that you don't put in all the milk at the same time. So you just put in a small bit, maybe 3/4 of it, and then you take your hand, you make it into like a claw. You don't need a spoon for this, and you make the butter flour mixture come together with the milk. And what you essentially want is to get a dough that resembles a bit like a cookie dough, but it's a little bit softer than a cookie dough. if you want to prepare this before, say, you want to eat them, you can also make this a couple of hours beforehand and pop the dough into the fridge for a couple of hours and just take it out and roll out the scones afterwards. But because it's so quick and easy, you will find that it takes no time to make these. So, like so, add a bit more milk. You don't want it to be too wet and you don't want it to be too dry. Okay, so it's really coming nicely together. Perfect. It's really, really good. Add a tiny bit more milk. We're nearly there. And after that, you have a nice dough. So easy. Now, okay, perfect. So, your dough has come together nicely. So what I'll do is I'll flour my baking bench here, and I'll just give it a small little kneading, but not a lot is required, so don't worry about it too much. Now, nice and even. Okay, perfect. So you don't need to use a rolling pin if you don't want to, but I like doing it because it makes it just a bit more even. And what you'd like to do is you want to roll out this dough to a thickness of about 2.5 centimeters, which would be the equivalent of 1 inch. And like so. And you want to get as many scones out of the first rollout, okay? So the recipe states that you would get about 17 small scones out of this, but I'd like to make mine a little bit bigger. So I use this scone cutter here, and I get about 8 to 10 out of it. But they're a nice size, and like so. Perfect. Really good. The rest of the dough I'm saving for later, for my afternoon tea. So I'm putting that away and I'm going to put that into the fridge. Okay, now I'll take my baking tray a little bit closer so you can see. And I'm dipping the scones into the egg mixture, a caster sugar mixture, and onto the baking tray. Like so. Egg, sugar onto the baking tray, and I'll repeat that process, and it makes a really nice crunchy kind of glaze. Sometimes if you feel like it, you can make your scones a little bit different, and you can put maybe some orange zest into it, lemon zest if you feel like it. You can put sugar and cinnamon on them if you feel like it, but I like mine plain so I can put nice jam and cream on it afterwards. Okay, so I'm gonna again get my little assistant, Oscar. Would you mind putting these into the hot oven for me?
No problem.
Okay, perfect. So they will be going into the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes. But I like to not disturb them for 10 minutes at least, because I like them to give them some time to actually rise to a good size. Perfect. Okay, so the best part about the whole baking experience is of course to eat the scones as well. So this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. So really nice crispy top and really nice and soft on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open one of these just to show you. Really, really nice texture. And I whipped up some nice Irish cream. So I'll put a small bit on top here, like so. And then I found a jar of Wexford strawberry jam that I made last year. And it was a great experience because as a family we went down to Wexford. It's 2 counties south of Dublin, and it's the sunniest county in Ireland, and they have the most delicious strawberries. So I made strawberry jam that I saved, so I'm going to put a little bit of this on. If you were in Ballyknocken Farm, Catherine would have made the most delicious ginger and rhubarb jam. But because we're not in Ballynockin right now, we'll have to do with strawberry jam from Wexford. So I'll put a little bit of like so. And this will be absolutely delicious with a good cup of Irish tea. Please share your photographs of your baked scones with us or your favourite Ballynockin memory. But don't forget to use the hashtag EPI Remembers When.